budget everyday carry gear. And in particular, we're going to look at outdoor and safety gear, but some of this stuff could obviously be used even in an office environment. So indoors, outdoors, just stuff that makes a lot of sense for some people to have on their person, some of the more basic stuff. But we're going to really focus on the high value budget offerings. And I'm going to pretty much highlight individual items from brands. And I think this is going to just be a really nice set of examples for those looking for some ideas. Now, of course, you may not be looking for these specific items, but these may lead you to whatever you're looking for, or just give you a better idea of what's out there. So I've kind of just divided this up into just a few simple categories. You may say that I'm not covering all of the everyday carry categories. You may be right. For some people, this is a lot more than you would consider carrying on your person throughout the day. But I do have lighting, cutting tools. I have fire making. I have pen and whistle option. And I also have self-defense option. And so that's basically what I'm going to be reviewing here today in terms of, examples for your consideration. Now, under lighting, I actually have 3 examples. There's so many to pick from. It was really, really difficult just to pick one. And plus, we're going to be, looking at a handheld light and a headlamp. So I really needed to do at least 2. But for the headlamp, and there's so many good ones out there. So this is just, once again, for the budget-minded person that wants something of really good quality. And I was able to find this on a really deep sale, not so far back. And it was just a really amazing high-value purchase. And this was the Through Night Black Scout Survival H01 headlamp, the BSS H01. Very cool light. I really like it. And now that I've had some more time with it, since I've done my overview video, I really, really like this light. And it's just amazing, what you can get now for very little money. And so in terms of the actual handheld options, I have 2. I have just really compact options here. These are not going to be full-size tactical lights. Once again, this is for everyday carry, not for tactical uses for the most part. But I have a keychain light and just a pocket light. But you could use either one of these as a pocket light because the keychain light actually comes with a pocket clip, which is really cool. And this is a rather new variation of the LumenTop EDC-01, and it's actually called the EDC-02 because it has the pocket clip. And it's really cool. So once again, the LumenTop EDC-02 is what I would advise you to check out. And you can put it on a key ring or you can use it as a pocket light. And it just runs off of, a AAA battery, and you can use rechargeable batteries. So I really like my EDC-01. But now that they have the 02 variant, I'm thinking about getting it. I don't really need another light, but but this is pretty cool. I like the pocket clip option. Now, LumenTop also has a newer light. It's been out for a few months, and it's called the EDC AA. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty simple. It can run different types of batteries to give you different types of outputs. So it has the potential to be quite bright, and it's just a small light, and definitely super high value. I've seen these on sale for just ridiculously low prices. And so definitely check out the LumenTop EDC-02 and the new LumenTop EDC AA light. Okay, so now moving on to cutting tools and multi-tools. There was a lot to pick from there. So I just told myself, pick one fixed blade, one folding blade, and one basically multi-tool, and we'll call it a day. And that's very difficult to do. But there's so many budget options, as you know. I mean, where do you start? So obviously this is going to be just out of my own personal preference, but I will have to say this. When it comes to fixed blades, it's kind of known in the outdoor world that Mora is where it's at, Mora knives. And the Mora 511 is pretty awesome. I mean, it's really awesome. Sometimes you can find them for like around $8 on sale. I mean, it's just insane. And you can get them in carbon steel or stainless steel, and they use really good materials for the price. If you want something with a little bit of a different style, just slightly larger, and I mean just ever so slightly larger, but just different contouring of the handle, you have the Mora Companion. And they make the Mora Companion in a very large number of variations, different colors, blade thicknesses, materials, all that stuff. So, I mean, there's even like a full-on tactical version of the Companion, which is almost kind of a little funny, you know, kind of like an irony funny. It's just like, really? You know, but they do. They have a full blacked out Molly compatible, if I'm right, I think it's Molly compatible version of the of the Mora Companion. But I have a few Companions and they're great just for an overall, like a general camp knife. But for me, though, I kind of lean a little more toward the 511. And I just really like it. It fits my hand really well. And so there's the fixed blade. In terms of a folding blade, wow, I mean, where do you begin on this one? This is kind of coming into more of my personal hobby, kind of personal interest. Just something that I like to look into. It's just something I just enjoy learning about. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm going to have to just highlight a knife that I've talked about a lot. So don't think that I don't know of what is new out there. And I definitely can tell you there are some things that are coming out really soon. For example, like the Gerber Zilch. The Gerber Zilch folding knife looks really awesome, but no one has had any experience with it because it's not out yet. Hopefully it'll be out in a few weeks, maybe a few months. No one really knows, but it should be relatively soon. But I'm thinking that could be a really good option too. But at the moment, a very, very tried and true option among many, this is just, once again, my preference for this particular category, is the K-Bar Dozer Hunter. And you just pick the size and the color and you're good to go. Okay. In terms of a multi-tool, for everyday carry, it's just not really practical for most people to carry a full size, full featured multi-tool. I mean, it just isn't. Even like a medium size, full featured multi-tool isn't really practical either. So something like a traditional Swiss Army knife, so a Victorinox Swiss Army knife, to me is just way more practical. And get something that's kind of more on the compact side. And so the small Tinker is really awesome. I have several of the larger Tinkers, but I don't have the small version. And I have friends that do, and I've seen them in person. I mean, it's an awesome little package. But I just never picked up one. But that's what I would get, now that I know what I know. And I am going to get one eventually. But the small Tinker is very cool. For fire, yeah, you could definitely just go out and get some ferro rods and, stash them in a wallet or something. And I'm not going to go over any wallets and all that because there's just so many different kinds. And wallets in general don't have to, cost much anyways. For $10 or less, you can pretty much find things that work really well. So it's just all personal preference there. But in terms of fire, though, outside of just like getting a ferro rod and just stashing it somewhere, I mean, that's it's an option. But in terms of like lighters, I think that's the most practical format to make fire or flame. Let's just be honest about it. A lighter. you can just pick from the medley that's available in your area, whatever is affordable. In my area, the Scripto lighters are sometimes half the price of a Bic lighter, and they work just the same. Like I've been using them for like literally like 15 years or more, and the Scripto lighters just don't fail. They're just good. So I have no problems with Scripto, but you may not have Scripto lighter brands and, the brand of Scripto in your area. So you just find, whatever else is out there that works. In terms of pens, I'm not like a huge pen guy, but I will put this out there and say, though, that when you need a pen, you need a pen. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things that, like I don't really think about it. But whenever I've had to write something down in my car, like I'm just so thankful that I stashed a few pens in the console. And then there's times when you're out and about and you're not in your car, or you're not at home, or you're not in the office. Maybe you don't have your briefcase with you. Maybe you don't have your backpack with you, but you need a pen. And yes, there's all kinds of like keychain pins, and some of that to me though is kind of really not the best option. I mean, they're just so small, some of them. They're just not practical to hold. I mean, I got bigger hands, and I mean, I don't know about you, but it's just sometimes these little micro pens are just really difficult to use. And so for me, and this might be going too far for most people, I would think it probably would be, but for me, the Smith & Wesson M&P second generation tactical pen, that's what it's actually called. They have like, I think 4 pens currently out, and that was one of them. I like that design the most, but it doesn't even have to be a tactical pen. But basically, though, they have some Fisher Space pens that are pretty decent. But in terms of a budget, though, this isn't going to break the bank. This one right here can be found for like between $20 to $22. Maybe $23, depending on where you're at, but it's not bad. And if it's just something that's going to really last. And yes, you could go to Walmart or some big box store and get some big pens, and I love big pens. Just the regular cheap, like the 10-cent big pens. They're also something I use all the time. But in terms of something that's going to be really durable and it's going to last, this is what I would do. And I do have other tactical pens and all this. And I just think that this was the best value of all my tactical pens. It doesn't mean it's the best pens. It's just, if you're just looking at price and value. In terms of whistles, not everyone wants to carry a whistle. And I mean, I don't even carry a whistle half the time. But if you're going to carry a whistle and you want it to be like practical to carry, not this big bulky whistle, like I have some really big whistles, and then I have some really small whistles, and I found that the little small whistles are kind of weak. They don't put out a ton of, noise, and they're typically really higher pitch noise. And so what I found though, that has that really decent, at least there's a decent amount, like an acceptable amount of tone and output. I mean, this one actually has a pretty good output, is the Fox 40 Sonic Blast CME. And this one has been, tested to be a little over 120 decibel. So it has the potential to be 120 plus decibel, depending on how hard you blow the whistle. It's a very cool looking whistle, but it's also very affordable. I mean, you can get these for $5 or less, any place, and very, very cool. Well, I shouldn't say any place, but there's a lot of sporting good places that sell the Sonic Blast CME. And, if that one doesn't work for you, Fox 40 has a ton of other whistles and tons of colors and color combinations. And of course, there's other whistle manufacturers. But I'm just saying, if you're just trying to find something compact and reliable, just well constructed, like you don't have to worry about it just falling apart in a few days or weeks or months, like this is a good option. Like I have Fox 40 whistles that are like well over 10 years old. I think some of them are getting close to like maybe 15 years old by now. And they're holding up just fine. I mean, actually, let me take that back. I do have a Fox 40 whistle that is now 22 years old. It's a lifeguard whistle. When I used to work at a facility that had lifeguards, and I was a supervisor, and I was sometimes having to get lifeguards' attention. I was never a lifeguard myself, but I'm just saying I sometimes had to communicate over distances to lifeguards because of my job type. I had to use a whistle, and we had different codes of chirping the whistle, which took me a few days to learn how to chirp a whistle right, but I got it down. And we used Fox 40. I believe it was just called the Classic. It was just their classic whistle. And I mean, so I call it a lifeguard whistle, but it was just the classic version. That's what was issued to the lifeguards at that facility. So very cool. And those whistles work great. I mean, unbelievable. They're really loud. I don't know what the decibel levels on those, but it's got to be, I think going back by memory, I think I looked it up a while back. It was like 115 decibel. But it's definitely decent. So, okay, so let's move on to the last category here. And I got a lot of things in this little category, so I'm just going to take a moment to go through them. Self-defense. Okay, and I know that in some areas of this country that I live in, you know, the United States of America, and other countries that I don't live in, there's different locations within the places around the world that have different laws, restrictions, social norms, everything, just even availability. You know, even if it's legal, it may not be available. It just isn't sold there. So let me just say this: for everyday carry where I live, I pretty much can carry whatever I want. You know, it's a very open area. My location is very free. There's a lot of freedom in my area, and I just love it. Lots of freedom. So this is kind of how I think about it. Now, I'm not going to tell you like specifically what model of Sabre pepper gel, but they have some really good pepper gel. And you can go with the larger size, keychain, pocket. You know, some of them have clips. Some of them are made for running and, you know, or jogging for joggers. Like they can be, there's like this little case that, like a strap that goes around your hand, and it has like this case built into the strap, and you can have it right there at the ready. I mean, they even have bear spray, but for EDC, you probably don't need bear spray. You probably just need some kind of compact little pocket size pepper gel canister. And Sabre is a really good, you know, decent brand. Okay. And that's just what I use. And just an example for you to consider. In terms of a firearm, man, there's a lot of stuff, but I mean, in terms of just budget stuff that works, Taurus has so many things. I mean, you can pick from revolvers to semi-automatics, but I don't know. I mean, it depends on your preference. I could definitely see someone like get a 38 Special or a 357 Magnum revolver and conceal that. I mean, they have some really good prices on some of the revolvers. But the newer Taurus GX4, now I've never handled one. I've never even seen one in real life, but I've done a ton of research, and that little gun's kind of growing on me a lot for what the street price is and for what it offers. And just from all the reviews, and there's quite a few reviews, and they're really positive, and just going into the gun forums and really just digging deep into it. So far, it looks like it's an A+. You know, I mean, it's a great item. And I mean, I've been able to find them online for like around $324, roughly, about $324. I just checked today because I'm thinking about maybe even getting one, and it's sold out. I'm just waiting for it to come back in stock, but they have different color options. It's just really cool. So the Taurus GX4, it's a little 9mm, very small. I don't know if you would call it micro 9, but I think they are calling it a micro 9. But it has excellent, you know, capacity. It's just a nice little gun. At first, though, I kind of didn't know what to think of it. I wasn't even really like expecting Taurus to come out with something like that. And then they just popped it out of the blue, it seemed like, and I was just like shell shocked. At first, I was like, I don't think so. It just didn't. Just the initial image, like the design wasn't like, it was just a little different than what I would consider like what I thought I would want, until I started to really research it, and then I kept on looking at it. and I think I've gotten used to looking at it now, and I kind of like it now. And it's just so funny how that is. how sometimes when you first see something, you're like, I don't think so. And then like you look at it a few more times, you're like, it's not so bad. And then after like 20, 30 times you look at something, you're like, I kind of like that. So I don't know if it's just me normalizing what I'm seeing, or if it's just I'm actually seeing something that I really like that I didn't see before. Okay, let's move on. Also part of this self-defense category, we have the collapsible baton. And I know, this is kind of something that a lot of people don't carry. Some people just think that law enforcement are the only ones that carry collapsible batons. That's not true at all. You can definitely, in a lot of areas, it's legal for civilians to have it. At least in my area, it's totally legal. You can even conceal it if you want. And you don't need any kind of special permit or license, at least in my area and all that. And so in some areas, I'm sure there are some restrictions, of course. But the collapsible baton, if you're looking for something really lightweight and compact and really, really like good for the money, like it's quality, but it's not going to break the bank. You have the Smith & Wesson, and you can pick different sizes, but I think the 16-inch is kind of the sweet spot for concealed carry because it's only like about 6.5 inches, in the closed position, which is awesome. But it's the Smith & Wesson 16-inch lightweight collapsible baton. And the darn thing weighs only about 7 ounces. It's just insane. It's super awesome. It even comes with a sheath, but I just put my batons just right in my pocket, and I don't typically, have a retention sheath or anything like that. So, or you can carry it however you want though, but it's a very good option. And it just kind of helps provide a little bit of distance between you and an attacker, or it's just kind of like that intermediary force on the force continuum. So instead of having to pull out a firearm, maybe you could just pull this out and deter someone from, trying to hurt you. Now, just because I think it is fair to actually include maybe one more brand of firearms, especially maybe a different caliber instead of like a 9mm, even though I think that's pretty much the hottest and most sought after round right now, or that caliber is the most popular and it has a good reason to. What about the 380? The 380 is still a viable option. There are just some people who can't handle a 9mm, or they're just looking for even a smaller profile of gun. And so if that's the case, the Ruger LCP2 is a really good option. Now, I don't have one of those, but I have the original LCP, but I have quite a few friends that have the LCP2, and they're pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. I like them. They're cool. And of course, they also have the newer LCP2 Max, I believe it's what it's called. It's just like an extended magazine capacity. Like they make the grip just a hair bit thicker. I mean, if you're into that, if you just want more rounds, it's whatever, so that's kind of cool. And so there it is. Once again, I don't know. Let me just recap that. I don't know if it's called the Ruger LCP2 Max or the Ruger LCP Max. It's one of the two, I believe. So anyways, I think that covers it really, So budget, outdoor, everyday carry, and safety gear examples. I hope this was somewhat helpful or interesting, or just get you thinking about stuff. And, sometimes it's just fun to write out a list for a project that you're working on, or if you have a thought about something, just kind of organize it on paper. Of course, everyone thinks a little bit differently, but there tends to be some people in the population like myself that I just think things deeper, or I'm able to kind of organize better when I write things down. And so you can kind of see things a little clearer, right? Get a little bit of distance from your thoughts. Because sometimes we're thinking about so many things in our head, they get a little jumbled, or we kind of forget something, and we just kind of leave something out. And when you write it all out, you can just kind of see right in front of you, like, wow, this would be a really great everyday carry if we had a setup like this or like that. Or you can kind of mix things around on the paper, right? And just kind of figure it out that way. But, these are some really good high value options. If you try these out, let me know or let us know how it works out for you. Thanks for your support. We'll catch you later.